Good morning, and welcome to the Lone Star Weekly Business Hour. Your host, Rick Schissler, is a Silver Fox advisor who personally has over 40 years of experience as a serial entrepreneur. So sit back, pull out your pad and pencil, and get ready to take notes as we join Rick Schissler in his Lone Star Weekly Business Hour.
Good morning. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor, and I welcome you to this week's Weekly Business Hour. We've got a great show lined up for you this morning, and as always, I want to start with a few tips and ideas that I hope that will be helpful to you and perhaps something you can even use in your business today. I had prepared this morning's program during the weekend, but I came across an article this morning that kind of put some things on hold to talk to you next week about that I feel that all of us in business, that are out there, whether you're on your own as a solo or you have employees, it's something we really need to understand. And this came from an opinion editorial, if you will, in the Wall Street Journal this morning. The title of the article is Fight Inequality with Better Jobs. I'm going to stay away from the political side of that because we're not on a political show here this morning. But I think it's very important that we as business people understand what's going on in the job market out there. And again, I realize we're here in a part of the country that we've been blessed with a great economy. I just left a conversation next door at the Conroe Coffee Shop talking about ran into a good friend, Tanya Lavoie, realtor, and she was talking about how the number of houses that are available for sale, it's getting awful small, and she's getting concerned because she says we're going to run out of inventory up here if we're not careful, and she's concerned because there's lots of growth. Of course, lots of growth, lots of opportunity, lots of employment, jobs available for people. That's a good thing. But apparently throughout the country and the country as a whole, that's not the same case. And I think even here, where we're sort of insulated, if you will, in a different situation, we've got to be aware of it because it affects the entire country. And obviously what goes on in the entire country and, in fact, in the entire world, one way or another trickles down to us in our daily lives, in our businesses, in our personal lives. So I wanted to take a moment and go through and share with you with some of the information, particularly the facts that were pointed out, some of the statistics. And this editorial was written by Mortimer Zuckerman. And Mortimer Zuckerman, if you're not familiar with him, is chairman and editor-chief of the U.S. News and World Report. So he's a fairly well-respected source, whether you agree with his politics or not, but he's a respected source that he does deliver the news on a factual side, typically as it is. So I pretty well accept these facts, these figures as being truthful, and I want to share them with you and what it means to us, even here in an environment and an economy that is doing very well. I pointed out that the latest statistics show that the wealthiest 1%, we're back to categorizing people, which is something I just absolutely disagree with. But they've captured 95% of the wealth between 2009 and 2013, while the bottom 90% have become poorer in real terms. Now, that's a political statement, but it's still a factual statement that we need to look at. But getting down really to the heart of the things, the issue really is about jobs, as he points out, and what kind of job market we're looking at. And this is what I really want to share with you. The fact is there's a scarcity in the quality of people to find jobs. The unemployment rate is about 13%. Forget what you hear on the evening news, but when you really take it, and I've heard as high as 20% on some of the talk shows, but it's really 13%. And the fact that there's so many people that are marginally attached to the labor market. And what we're really talking about is part-time people. When you look at that, there are 27 million part-time workers who make up 18% of the workforce. And what basically we're saying here is there's a lack of full-time employment, particularly for those who are looking for full-time employment. The labor participation rate has hit a 35-year low of 63%. And again, I'm not going to give you a test at the end and ask you specifically what those figures are, but what I'm trying to convey is that we need to be concerned. And basically, people are dropping out of the job market. People such as myself who have hit 60 and heading older, people in this case, and I'll share a statistic with you. The drop is most noticeably between men and women between 25 and 54, which are the prime earning years. People have dropped out of the labor market. They've given up. They've become It reached a point, where for one reason or another, they're just not looking for a job. So they don't end up in all these government statistics. So what I'm trying to do is clarify for you, if nothing else, the fact that unemployment really is worse than we're led to believe in the rest of the country. And I believe that has an impact on us, all of us here. So it's interesting to me that even though 2013, our fourth quarter GNP rate, gross national product, came in at 2.4%. And that really is bad news, believe it or not. I'm not sure how many of y'all are economists or understand that terminology, but we need a 3+, 3.5+ or more to really grow from where we are right now, that we've come off some extremely tough years, and we're just somehow not getting there. And the impact to all of us is going to be excessive in a sense, that the fact that we have so many things going on that work against, and a lot of it driven by the government, that work against employment. And I'm hopeful that some of these things will change. But let me give you a quick example or two that Mr. Zuckerman offered. He says, basically we have the weakest recovery from a recession since the Second War. And basically he blames the government for diminished spirits of people. And a lot of people out there in business, like you and I, feel the government's even hostile to our efforts to grow our business, to go into business, to acquire other businesses. And this attitude is becoming more and more prevalent. And what happens is, it's sort of amplified, or I'm looking for the right word here. That attitude is getting worse and worse and worse because of things like the rollout of Obamacare and the fact that failed, because of the dishonesty associated with that. And again, I'm not picking on Obamacare, but these are recent things that have happened. People read that we have excessive corporate income tax rates. We do when compared to the rest of the world, and I'm talking about the competitive world that we deal with out there in other countries. And Mr. Zuckerman draws a conclusion, and I'm going to leave it with that. He says the key is education. We need to turn around and educate people. The fact that people without a high school diploma continue to have 3 times the rate of unemployment than those with a diploma. And again, we're only talking about a high school diploma at this point. That statistic has always been there as far as the without a diploma and those who have a diploma. There's always been a gap. Well, that gap has grown to 3 times. We have people who were in manufacturing jobs. We have added 45 million workers since 1979 to the economy, but we've lost 8 million manufacturing jobs. And the fact is that technology, let's be fair about it, and we can blame other sources, and in fact, even on the news and in the political world, we blame people, certain people. But the fact is, these jobs have gone away. And he gave an example that really shook me up. Think about it. Eastman Kodak, film cameras. They at one time employed 145,000 people in their operations worldwide. And today they employ none because that business went away. But at the same time, Facebook, and when I say the same time, in the last year or two, Facebook paid $1 billion for a company called Instagram that's in the photo-related business. They had 13 employees, but the business was worth $1 billion. And Kodak got to the point where it was really worth nothing except for a few patents they had. So this is something to remember. This economy is not strong nationwide, and it's something that we always, in our businesses, even though here, as my friend Tanya Lavoie says, we're running out of houses. We've got great prosperity around us here in this part of the country, but there's still a lot of hurt going on out there, and eventually, ultimately, that trickles down to us here in this area. That article aside, and I don't want to end up on a downer, but I want to talk about my next point is if you're out there and you're thinking about starting a new business, or I was on the phone with someone this morning, one of my clients talking about they want to acquire another business. It's a related area, but it's a different business. And I think one of the most important things, and a thing that a lot of people forget about when they start a business and when they particularly are starting their first business, is they forget to really spend the time and validate that business, that great idea they have is really valid and it's one that will work up to their expectations. So you got 2 components here to me. First of all, is the business itself, is it is it viable? Will it work at all? And then secondly, will it work to my expectations? And I have found so many people do not examine one or both of these issues before they jump off into the business. And I think it's very important, and the single most important thing or advice or tip that I can give you is make sure your assumptions, the assumptions that you have made about the business, about how it's going to grow, how much money you can make from the business, how much effort it's going to take on your part, how much money you're going to have to borrow, invest, all those decisions that you make, those assumptions, the market that you're assuming you're going to serve and how much of that market's going to respond to your product or service offering. Really make sure those assumptions are accurate to the best of your ability, and that means you've got to go out and gather some intelligence. You've got to talk with people, and one of the things that I think is unusual perhaps, but I think it's one of the best steps you can take is you need to test these ideas. And today, of course, we can test on the internet. And I even read a short article where they actually put up a website, a one-page website that offered their product for sale. Now, again, the product itself didn't exist, and they said that. They said it's coming soon. It was some software. And it says, but give us your email address, and when we come to market here in the near future, you'll be one of the first that'll have the opportunity to buy it. But on the one page, they explained what the product was and what its market was and so on and so forth. And that way they could gather email addresses, but they also got some immediate feedback about people's interest in that particular product. But, a tried and true method is just talk to people. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your family. But I think more importantly than talking to people who you know is talk to strangers. Now, I'm not talking about going to the mall and just talking to people like you're doing a survey, but seriously, go to different business events or different events, church, whatnot. And if you get a chance where you're in one of these public events, or again, you can go to the mall, but have a prepared idea of what your product or service is. In other words, just don't walk up and say, hey, I'm thinking about becoming a plumber. What do you think? Think about what is unique about your business. In other words, you've done this preparation, you've made assumptions, hopefully you've begun a business plan, or maybe you've completed it, so you can talk about the uniqueness of your product, what's different about your product or service, but phrase a couple simple questions, maybe 3 to 5 at most, and be prepared and ask strangers though. And I think that's important because a lot of times family, friend, these people, the feelings come into play, emotions, they don't want to hurt your feelings. Some of them may not tell you the truth too, and you got to be careful with that because they don't want you to go off into that business. But again, I'm not saying don't talk to those people, particularly those in your family, your spouse and whatnot, about what you're thinking about, but go out and test that. Test those assumptions. It's very important. And if you'll do that, and the webpage idea and some other mass media, an email blast is another way, gather some information and validate those assumptions. Thank you very much for listening to me this morning, and hopefully some of the information I tried to share with you on the economy and some of the things that are happening in the country will help you as you go forward in the near and far in the future in making decisions about your business. And if you're thinking about a new business, hopefully some of the ideas about validating your assumptions and making sure you're correct before you jump off into that new venture. We're going to take a short break here now, ladies and gentlemen. And when we come back, we're going to have a very interesting guest join us, Mr. Bryan Calhoun. Bryan is a professional artist. So we're going to be talking about the business of being a professional artist. So I think you'll find it very interesting. So please stay with us, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Do you ever wonder what's going on in the business community? Are you looking for ways to get plugged in? Cassandra Roshan here, Director of Membership Development with the Greater Conroe, Lake Conroe Area Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to invite you to tune in to Chamber Chat. Tune in the first Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. so you will be in the know for all Chamber happenings for the month. Each month, the Chamber offers 2 free lunch and learn sessions, a networking breakfast, business after hours, membership luncheon, as well as many other special events throughout the year. I will give you a rundown of all programs and events for the month, as well as interview our speakers and hosts of these events. So grab a cup of coffee and tune in to Chamber Chat the first Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. Chat with you then.
Hi, this is Erica Tullis, Executive Director of the Breast Cancer Charities of America. The Breast Cancer Charities of America is a national nonprofit organization with our headquarters in The Woodlands, Texas. We focus on non-invasive breast cancer research and helping the true patient that is going through breast cancer. Through our Help Now Fund, we help women pay the rent and utilities while going through their breast cancer treatment. It's unlike any other program that truly is out there. We are here to help the woman. Our phone number is 936-231-8460. For more information or to get involved or to even make a donation, please visit our website, www.igopink.org.
Good morning, Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor, back here with you on the Weekly Business Hour. And as I mentioned before the break, we have a very interesting guest in the studio today. Mr. Bryan Calhoun is a professional artist who lives and works here in the Montgomery County area. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Rich.
Well, Bryan, let's just start from the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to become a professional artist.
What led me to become a professional artist? I guess I've been doing art for many, many years, from a little kid on up to where I am now. I was raised in East Texas, Newton, a small town, Newton, Texas. And, my dad, my mom, eventually, we migrated here to Houston, Texas, where I pretty much grew up at. I went to Booker T. Washington High School, and my senior year, my dad had a job in Oklahoma. So I, graduated in Oklahoma, Bartlesville, Oklahoma. After that, came back to Houston and went to Art Fashion Institute. My mom, she saw some potential I didn't see. I just love to draw. Started out with, a little stick man, and, I really got excited with my parents. They would show friends and relatives when they come over and stuff like that. So I kind of like the attention, and I just kind of like going in the room and just put many, many hours in just drawing different things from cars to plants to animals. And it may not look like exactly what I was trying to draw at the time, but, I kept, going at it.
So that stick-to-itiveness, I guess that's an important characteristic of an artist.
It's very important. As most artists will tell you, it's not just, it's a gift. It's a gift. You can go to school. I went to Art Fashion Institute, and you can go to school, but it's the time you put in it personally to find your way and your technique. They can teach you the basics. They can teach you how to mix colors and everything, but it's going to be about you to make your art your own. So you have to consider everything. The very little minute things that you think is not important, it is important, because you never know what's asked of you. You never know, you may need that if you're trying to create an image, So I would suggest our artists don't turn a blind eye to something, any kind of teaching from wisdom. I mean, like you said earlier, ask questions. Don't feel like you is above anybody. I don't care if you are a professional. I even ask questions, to try to critique and get myself even better. But yeah, it's very good.
Well, see, and a lot of what you're saying is common, I believe, are qualities and characteristics of any good business person.
Absolutely.
Is to keep your mind open and keep seeking information, advice, wisdom, staying active in the public eye, if you will.
Absolutely.
I know we were interfacing with a lot of people at the coffee shop prior to the show.
Absolutely.
And a lot of folks seem to know you, and,
Yeah, and that's big. I mean, networking and keeping your eyes open. If you see another artist is doing well, or if you heard of another artist doing well, research it. How did he get to that point? And the bottom line is hard work. But when it comes to promoting yourself and really getting your name out there, which is very, very important, you just have to don't stop. Don't get frustrated because you didn't sell your first piece. Don't get frustrated because it doesn't look like what you was looking at or trying to draw. Just be consistent with it and keep asking questions. And, just keep your nose to the grind, and that's how you.
And make it happen.
There's
no doubt about it.
I always had a business mind. My dad, he only had a 7th grade education. and we did in construction. And when I got out of high school, that's the first thing I did with construction. My back was killing me, my hands was hurting, all these calluses, and I said, this not for me. We moved back to Houston, went to Art Fashion Institute, and I got into commercial arts. Took that, we moved to Virginia. My dad had another job in Virginia, so of course he uploaded the whole family. We took off up there. Well, they moved back. I stayed. I got married and everything, and unfortunately the company got bought out, and so I lost my job there. And that put a lot of strain on the family and stuff. So I moved back down to Houston. Well, I can back up a little bit. When I was up in Virginia, is where I got married at. Became an officer. So I did that for about 7 years, I guess. Mind you, I have about 25 years of experience in art.
Right.
Or a little bit more, not including being a little kid drawing and stuff like that, but really getting into it. It's about 25 years, about 15 years professionally.
Now, you said you became an officer, and I want to clarify because it was a question as I went through your bio and talked with you. You went into law enforcement, which I don't know how art and law enforcement connect, but you ended up in law enforcement.
Yeah, like I said, it was a strain on the marriage. Things didn't go as well as planned and whatnot, so I moved back to Houston. When I got back to Houston, I went to University of Houston Criminal Justice downtown.
Sure.
I was a lieutenant in the class, so I figured I might become an officer down here. I dropped a couple of applications and everything, but I decided to, I can make probably a little bit more money opening my own security company. So I opened up, off-duty officers. And I remind you, that was way back before this 9/11 thing happened. And so most of the main grandfather security companies that have been around for years, they was getting up all the contracts and stuff like that. So they really, most people wouldn't really take a chance with small, up and coming security companies. So hey, I had a family. I had to make ends meet, so I kind of had to let that go. And from that point on, I just I went back to school. I love learning. I went to school for surgical tech. So I started working in hospitals doing assisting in surgeries and stuff like that, from eyes and ear, nose, and throat, ortho, internal. It doesn't matter. I did pretty much all the surgeries and stuff like that. So, and from that, I can remember.
Well, let me ask you this: you obviously, you were in law enforcement. And then you had your own business, and then you went into security. You obviously were looking for something. Nothing really fit, but at the same time, you had a family to support.
I had a family.
So you looked for a job, not
absolutely.
really a career or a passion. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely a fair statement. And you wind up, once you do construction, you can't forget it. I went back to the construction and whatever, and because you got to put food on the table. But during that time also, to find peace of mind, I just kind of found myself just doodling a little bit. And that became even more, so I started drawing. And then, I remember when I sold my first piece. It was a neighbor across the street knew my dad always talked about me and my drawing. And she wanted me to draw a family portrait, And she brought me like 3 different pictures because they never had a portrait done as a family. And so I put them all together, and so that felt good. The money felt good, so I kind of like.
So that was your beginning. That
was my beginning.
Your first drawing of a family portrait like that. That's an interesting story.
Absolutely.
Came from a neighbor.
Absolutely, came from a neighbor.
And so you shifted gears, and
I shifted gears, and I really like doing portraits, from animals to from humans. I kind of really fine-tuned it. I got into forensics, portraits and faces and sculptures and stuff like that. The sculpture of a face. A lot of people don't know that there's a lot of similarities in human faces. The distance between the nose and the eyes and the mouth and everything like that. And if you can fine-tune that, I'll give you an example. If you give me a picture and there's a part of that picture that I cannot see, but I can see the other side, well, that's where the forensics would come in. I'm able to match that side from the side I can see. So it's like a blind type thing, but I still can. I'm able to do that, and so. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, and the transition, and I think the message I see in all this is, and in my encouragement to people I meet and clients and whatnot, is that you always have to search for the right fit.
Absolutely.
And even as I talked when we started the show about, jumping off into a new business and making assumptions, and I always encourage people to make sure that if you're going to go off on your own, make sure you have some passion for it, because all businesses are going to have a challenge. There's ups and downs. I don't care who you are, how good you are, how good the money is. There's still going to be ups and downs.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to research. You got to find your passion. Even in school, they teach you perspective and teach you how to mix the colors and all that kind of the basics, the fundamentals. Don't lose that, because you never know if you need it. But for me, it was more about I need the detail. If I'm drawing something that's not detail, it's not as exciting to me. I like the detail. I don't care if it's a car I'm doing, or landscaping, or a portrait of an animal, a horse, or a dog, whatever. I love the detail about it to make it realistic as possible. Almost photographic.
That's interesting, and obviously I would think that would give you a leg up over others, that, the detail. A lot of folks don't like detail, and I think almost every artist, and I'm sure there are exceptions, because just like any business or industry, there are different segments. But the detail is what I like to look at as someone who loves art, is and take amazement in, is the detail.
Absolutely, because what that does, it tells the consumer, this guy put a lot of time in it. This is valuable, and it's going to be valuable one day. I'm sure my art will be valuable one day. It might not be a Van Gogh or anything like that kind of, but then again, it might be.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see. In the meantime, though, we're going to take a little commercial break here. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back and talk to Bryan a little bit more about his work and how he developed his business as a artist, and some of the typical business things that all of us in business face, that even he as an artist face. So please stay with us, and we'll be back with you after a short commercial break.
Hello, I'm Bonita DeRosa, Animal Control Officer for the City of Willis. We invite you to tune in to Lone Star Internet Radio every first and third Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. for the Willis Hour. On the first Thursday of the month, the Willis Hour will be covering upcoming events and news about the city. Join in the conversation with your city officials and other leaders in the community. On the third, we will be doing a recap of the last City Council meeting. The mission of the City of Willis is to provide high-quality services, accountability, and professional commitment to our citizens. We pledge to provide those who live, work, and visit our city an effective government that is open and responsive to the needs and values of the community. Again, we invite you to tune in on Lone Star Internet Radio every first and third Thursday of the month at 11 for the Willis Hour.
Hi, this is Judy Deo, Executive Director of Tamagua Healthcare Ministries. Tamagua is a Christian ministry that, by the grace of God and in response to the love of Jesus, provides quality health care, offers hope, and restores dignity to uninsured, low-income families and individuals in Northwest Harris County and Montgomery and Waller counties. As a primary care safety net clinic, we provide for the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual needs of our patients, and we do it only with the financial support of the community in which we serve. Tamagua receives no government funding. To find out how you can help or to make a donation, visit our website at www.tamagua.org. Tamagua is spelled Tomagwa. Thank you, and God bless you.
Welcome back. Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and in the studio today we have Bryan Calhoun, Montgomery County artist, extraordinary in my opinion. Bryan has made a business of being an artist, And I think that's important for people to understand. You know, the starving art sale is one thing, but you got to make a living doing it. Isn't that right, Bryan?
Absolutely. You definitely got to make a living doing it. And don't be afraid to, if you get in with hands and feet, don't be afraid to step back out and find a part-time job or something to put food and pay them bills. So, I think I found a way, and I finally made it to a point where I'm able to, survive and kind of comfortably, actually.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, as we typically do in our third segment, as we talk about your business, and as you and I visited previous to the show, that about the uniqueness of being an artist, but it's another business.
It is,
and like you say, you got to put food on the table. It can't be said any better than that.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this, just in general, on a day-to-day basis in your business, what is the biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge for me, if I'm not, I'm almost a perfectionist. I try to be. But if I don't have nothing scheduled, is getting out there and meeting more people and promoting it. It doesn't matter how the economy is. It concerns me a lot because that tells you, what consumers are buying. But one thing about it, no matter how the economy is, you're going to find somebody on one of those art aisles. They're going to be buying something. They're going to be buying some crafts, or they're going to be buying some paints, or they're going to be buying some picture or something like that. Entertainment, art, it's not going nowhere. It's going to be there. And as you was talking about earlier about how there's a lot of people need jobs, and art is a good part-time job. You're still bringing money in. Just go ahead and learn the skill. That would be my advice for any upcoming artists. Learn it. Go to school. Talk to people, and fine-tune you as a person, exactly what you like. If it's not the colors, if it's the charcoal, or if it's sculpture or whatever, find it and learn it. Learn it to the best that you can. And keep your eyes open for new products coming out, new things, new tools, and things like that. And one of the hardest things about art is pricing.
Well, that was my next question.
Yeah,
I always wonder, as a consumer of art who buys art, my wife and I do, how do you price art?
It's difficult, man. It's from oils to sculptures to no matter what you're doing, it's the time you got to think about, it's the material you got to think about, and it's the quality of work. If I'm just beginning, I can't put the same price tag on it as a professional artist if I was a beginner. So you have to find where you are in your pricing, and you also got to keep in mind of the area that you live in. The type of art, that's another big thing too. Now I do different types of art. I do from nudity to all the way from landscapes to animals to portraits or whatever. In Houston, it's a little bit more open. You pretty much can draw and get away with some great emotional pieces. Here it's a little bit more conservative. And so I have to watch that. I still kind of push it because everybody, even though it might be conservative up here, everybody's not conservative. And it's their own home, how they want to design it themselves. A lot of people buy art and design a room around that piece of art. So I try to keep in mind of, difference. I'm not afraid. And upcoming artists, don't be afraid to kind of push it, but also know how to bag away and keep it simple and plain. Most of my living comes from word of mouth. And like, again, I said earlier, you have to get your name out there. Now, the internet is fine. Facebook is fine. Tweet and all that stuff is fine. But there's so many different artists out there. So how are you going to be able to stand out? And you stand out by your name. That's how you're going to stand out. And putting your art everywhere. I don't care from restaurants or whatever. People might see a beautiful picture. They're going to look at your name. You never know when later on they might want to buy a piece of art, and they just might remember your name from, the family out, stuff like that. You have to keep that in mind. I have a lot of art in Houston, a lot, in different venues and restaurants and businesses and stuff like that. A lot of art in the Heights. I can really freestyle my types of art in the Heights, and it's from the Red Rocket to Grace Hart to cigar bars, where I can really get into the sports side of it. I did this huge life-size thing of LeBron James. My son, he loved LeBron James, and I sent it to him for his birthday, and he was in awe. My ex now, she called and said he was crying, and that made me emotional because that's me and him. We were very tight, and we still are. But yeah, you can't be complacent and stuck to one type of art. The reason I say that is everybody don't like charcoal. Everybody doesn't like oils. So I dip and dab. If you've seen, I go from oil to acrylics to charcoal to sculptures to pastels. I learn each one of those things as much as I can, because if someone comes to me and say, "All right, I love your charcoal. Can you do it in color?" Yeah, I sure can. Sometimes even the portraits. I love this, but can you do it in color? Can you put just a little blush? And sometimes they mix it up. I like charcoal, but can you make his eyes pop, that blue, or that hazel, things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of people here have a lot of horses, and they love their pets and their cats and stuff like that. So I'm able to. I had to learn how the hair flows. I pay attention to detail. As I'm looking at you, I pay attention. I got that kind of photographic memory type thing. And you have to pay attention to how the wrinkles flow, how the hair on the eyebrows flow. You have to keep it natural, even to the fine, after the person got through shaving, where would that mustache be at? So I even go into detail like that.
Well, what you're describing to me, the way I'm taking it, because I'm sitting over here as a business guy, so to speak, and totally, and grew up in it since I was born, literally, and you're describing a marketing plan.
Oh, absolutely.
And so a lot of folks will think that artists are people that, curl up in a corner somewhere or have a studio that's a mess, and their life's a mess.
Yeah.
And I see you, as I've met you and gotten to know you a little bit, that's the opposite.
Yeah.
You strike me as a business guy, as necessary, and what you just described is, hey, I'm taking art is more of a service than a product, but probably a mix of two if we really get down to it. And you're looking for markets. It sounds like you're looking for markets almost every day.
Oh, every day.
And adjusting,
and
fine tuning every day.
Absolutely, because for what people need to understand is, it don't matter what type of business you have, you need advertising. And you can come to me, I can advertise. I do logos for businesses. I do have a kids book I've written, and I did all the artwork in there. So I do, little characters and stuff like that. But when I do sit down, I'm going to go back to, if a person decides to become a professional artist, they definitely need a business plan. Go out again and research the type of medium that you are comfortable with. You find that first. Go to galleries and go to search the web and see what you really, really like. Then you get the education for it. And education is just not in the schoolhouse. Education is go back on, the web, and you can learn take a lot of lessons off the web just by trying to. That's the other thing I do too. I do teach art. I go to homes, or I meet in the libraries and stuff like that, and teach art. So again, you have to have a business plan. You find out, again, like I said, it's something that's not going to go away. Even if a person personally don't come up to you for their own home, there's a lot of businesses out there starting up businesses. People need to change their logos. People need to, change the look of their offices and stuff like that. So you're not going nowhere. You just have to get out there and hustle. It's not no overnight thing. I got many years behind me, man, and trial and error, and this not working. Then you make the adjustment,
Right.
And you talk to people, and okay, this worked for him. How did he get there? How did he do that? I'm talking. I'm going to ask. I'm definitely a talker, you know. And so you have to don't be afraid. Fear will keep you from doing pretty much anything, man. So I did have that. I got past that. So now I'm just, meet as many people as you can, because you never know what kind of wisdom they can give you, especially in that art area. So that's
well, I will tell you the thing that I've listened for the last 5-10 minutes to particularly, and it impresses me and hopefully our listeners, is that, again, the business of being an artist, and your tool chest, if you will, is or pencil box or paints or just like any other business.
That's right.
And which in your case, it sounds like you're really on top of it. And it's like you could come through my door into my business or my home, any place that I would utilize art to send a message to. I think art it sends a message about who I am or what my business is like. I mean, I want it to convey that message. But you could actually come into my space, into my home or my business, and help me determine what kind of art, as far as the look and how it's done.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about an interior decorator. I'm far from it. But the idea that you could create a piece for me, whether it be a painting or or a piece of sculpture or whatever, that really fit.
Absolutely.
And this is very surprising. I mean, it's a custom one-on-one. Hey, we're going to help figure out what works, and then you go and you create the piece that works for me. Is that a fair statement?
It is absolutely a fair statement. Again, I pay attention, man. And art is just not just on paper and canvases and stuff like that. Art is in everything you look at. I design clothes, just, pencil drawing, I design different clothes and stuff. So it's funny you mentioned about interior decorating. That's one of the things we got taught in Art Institute. So that's why I keep saying everything that you experience in life, you sometimes have to draw on that when you go into these different situations, endeavors. I might come into your home and say, I need something for this room. I'm like, well, you know what? This sofa right here. So now I'm thinking color scheme. I'm thinking how big. I'm thinking, different things like that. So all this come into play. I do not depreciate any kind of wisdom or what I see. I pay attention. I'm a people watcher. That's another thing about motion, how a person moves, how the human body moves and stuff like that. Everything. It seems like a lot, but once you get fine-tuned into it, it become easier. It just happen, and you just kind of have to remember and learn. That's all I can say. Learn, and practice, man, every day. Take an hour. I still have some weak spots. So I take an hour or 30 minutes, every other day or something like that, and just concentrate just on that particular weak spot to get better. And you have to. I remember I took about 10 years off. I took about 5 or 10 years off. And coming back was hard, man. It was coming back, from hard. Things I knew, it just wasn't clicking. So I'm having to go back and just practice, even from the outline, the shading, everything. So it's time consuming, but don't give up.
Well, the old adage, practice makes perfect.
Absolutely.
I mean, it still plays through.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We're going to take a short break now, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit further with Bryan, of course, about his artwork and being an artist, and also touch on teaching people. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back with you.
Hi, I'm Joyce with the Corner Pub in downtown Conroe. We're located at the corner of Simonton and North Main, just across the street from the courthouse. The week starts off Monday with open mic, hosted by Alan, and Tuesday nights open mic, hosted by Jeremy Bankhead. And on Thursday evening, McFarland Jams. There's nightly drink specials available every night, all night. And don't forget, live entertainment every weekend. To see a full list of events, visit our website at thecornerpubinconroe.com. So come join us at the Corner Pub, where the deli is open late.
This is Holly Price, Events Manager with Children's Cancer Recovery Foundation. The foundation assists children under age 18 and their families who are facing the hardships of a cancer diagnosis. Our mission focuses on improving the mental, social, and emotional well-being of these families while helping to minimize the devastation that cancer can cause. Located in the Woodlands, Texas, we support families who often face financial difficulties through our Helping Hands Fund. The Helping Hands Fund provides emergency bridge payments directly to the utility companies and landlords, ensuring that each child has a warm, safe place to call home while recovering from cancer. For more information, you can contact us directly at 713-389-5544. You can also check out our upcoming events or make a donation by visiting our website at www.childrenscancerrecovery.org.
In the gallery at the corner, whatever. Good morning, Rick Schissler back again on the Weekly Business Hour, and we're here visiting with Bryan Calhoun in the studio. And Bryan is a individual who has made art a business. He's an artist, and if you've been listening to the show to this point, you've seen that being in the business of art and being an artist is just like pretty much any other business. All business is a little unique, but Bryan has obviously made it a business and all the right components. And as we head towards the end of the show, Bryan, one of the things that you mentioned to me in our previous discussion was about the passion that you have for teaching people art. Mm-hmm. And you do a lot of teaching, and you've brought that up briefly earlier. Mm-hmm. But let's talk a little bit about that. Talk about teaching and the opportunity that's out there. Say a listener wanted to learn a little bit about art. What kind of opportunities can you offer?
Well, first of all, they would come to me, and I would like to get to know that person, and I would listen to what they have to say, and I would try to feel out, where their passion is, and I would that'll tell me what direction I can kind of point them in. I'm not the expert in every single art, but I'm very good in the rest. Expert in charcoal, yeah, definitely. Pastels, very much. So when it gets into the oils and things like that, I'm able to teach, because you have to find the outline. You have to have a pattern first. So a lot of people don't even know how to just put the pen to the paper and just start, I'm trying to draw this circle and I can't get it, this is how you do it. It's practice, practice, practice. And I'm able to show them how to, maneuver the pen and paper, and why you should not have the pencil in this angle compared to the other angle, and give the reasons why, because later on it'll come back and hurt you if you have it wrong. I would recommend for, parents out there who kids have that gift, are interested in it, don't discourage them, because they might be the next Van Gogh. I'm able to, give them the basics, not just the basics that I learned in school, but from an expert point of what it's going to take. And that's the best. School and stuff is fine, mixing colors and all that kind of stuff. But that school is not going to get you to, give you your, the tools that you need to get it exactly as an expert. So when it comes to that, drawing, putting that pencil to it, from charcoal to the why, and, where charcoal come from, how to use it, if it's graphite, how to use that. Everything got its own technique. And so as I be teaching them, I be explaining to them, they get to pick if they like the charcoal or they like the graphite. A lot of artists don't like charcoal because it's hard to contain. You have from hard charcoal to the soft charcoal. You probably seen in the stores, the number in the high B's is the softest charcoal, but it's the darkest. In the H, if the number is high, if it might be a high number, it's the hardest charcoal, but it's the lightest. So, sometimes they come in sets, sometimes they come in individuals. I don't think I bought a set yet. I'm to the point where now I can get one charcoal, and it depends on the pressure I put. That'll knock out a whole lot of different pencils you need, right? And shading, if some people want stick figures and whatever, I can teach them that. If they just want to stick with that, I teach them that. If they want realistic, I can teach them that. But they need to know the why. that is very important. You need to know why you have to do it this way, and walk them all the way through it. It's fun. It's quick. They can just contact me, and we can talk, about how much I charge and everything. It's fun.
Well, let's take a minute and kind of shift gears back to the business. And you were talking about teaching, made me think about it. You work with the Conroe Art League, which has a wonderful studio here.
Yeah.
I've traveled around. My wife and I always look for what I call the Art Guild, which means the local artist.
Yeah.
Any town we go into, whether
Right.
it's Charleston, Savannah, New York,
Right.
Any place we've been, and
Right.
because we want to see what people are doing locally.
Oh.
We'll go to the museums and see the Van Goghs, but
Yeah.
and we also you're able to find art that's affordable.
That's true.
Many times, but this facility here, as far as the building, the way it's been refurbished, it's a wonderful building just to go in.
Absolutely.
And you display there.
Yeah, it's I am in Conroe Art League. I've been there for since they opened this new venue, about 3 years now. It's a wonderful place. At the end of each month, it's going to be a change out. That's where the old art be switched out with the new art. This past Saturday, we just had this big competition, between the local artists and surrounding area and whatnot. And I did well. I got a couple of ribbons there, and I sold a piece of art for the firefighters. So it was amazing. So if you want some great art, come to the art gallery. You want to see what I have. Oh, the sculpture. I'm also into sculpturing. I think it's to switch over from paper art or canvas art to being a sculpture. If you able to as an artist, you're able to create that image. It might be a little difficult with your hands and stuff, but I'm able to do that. But I did this piece for about cancer. I lost a lot of family members to cancer, and recently had my dad a couple of years ago. So, but I don't want to divide. I know there's a lot of different types of cancer, but this piece that I did is more for everybody. It's unite all types of cancer. Everybody who has cancer, and it affects every single body. Even if you don't have cancer, it affects you because you lost a loved one or somebody that does it. So all this is entwined in this one sculpture. On one end of it, of course, you see this, this beautiful face with the bandana and everything. On the other end, it's a waterfall on the inside. It's called Diamond in the Rough. The diamonds represent pretty much everyone. It represents those ones that has cancer, have survived cancer, or even the ones that passed. There's I have a little thing here on the side of it where it has diamonds in it, individual diamonds in it. So there is a running waterfall. There's a huge diamond in the middle with a light coming down off the top. Showcase that whoever the new owner is, that big diamond in the middle represents them. The little small diamonds on the side, if whoever that person knows, or has cancer or passed from it, you just kind of drop one of those diamonds inside that little waterfall in the fountain and just make a wish or say a prayer for that person. It's definitely needed, and we all definitely got to stick together with this. It's beautiful, I think, and it says it all. It tells a big story because everybody has their own trials and their own battles with this thing, and it's a good, memorable piece. So,
now, just a question: if I wanted to see that piece, where is it?
It's going to be, matter of fact, it's time for the change out. So all the winners from this competition, if you have, from first place to fourth place, all those things going to be in Conroe Art League right here on 127 Simonson Street here in Conroe, Texas, and just go in and look at it.
So it'll be on display starting when?
Matter of fact, starting probably Wednesday. Change out supposed to be here pretty soon, and I'm getting ready to put it in now. It's in my car.
Okay,
right
so
now,
here
right?
in the next few days, people
come to
Conroe and go to the Conroe Art League building there on Simonton.
That's right.
And when it's open and take a look at it, and that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
I want to take a moment and personally thank you, Bryan, for taking your time today and getting up the courage as a lot of guests do. And,
I know, right?
You've done a wonderful job. You've educated me a lot about the business of being an artist, and I'm always anxious to learn about all kinds of businesses, and want to thank you. If someone was interested in talking to you further about either taking art lessons or looking at some of your art, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
My telephone number is 936-648-1539, or they can just send me an email. I'm working on a website right now, so that's not up, but you can email me at pics2portraits. The 2 is the actual number, pics2portraits at AOL.com. And the way you would do it, if you want something done, just take the picture or whatever you want done real close up, because of course I like detail, I like to see it, or a combination of pictures, and email them to me. And if I can work with it, cool. If I cannot work with it, I will email you and let you know back. I'm not going to just do it just for the money. Right. You got to make sure I'm able to do it and do a good job of it.
Well, I appreciate that, and again, I thank you for coming on, and encourage everybody to stop by the Conroe Art League here in Conroe in the near future and see the beautiful piece you've done representing and paying honor, if you will, to cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of this week's show. Next week, we have a very special guest as well. Brian Wilkinson's here, going to be with us. He's with America Home Place, and I encourage you to join us when you have an opportunity, because remember, we're always available on archives. So if you didn't catch all of the show today, or you haven't caught some of the previous shows, remember there's an archive. You just go to the www.irlonestar.com website, click on shows, and look for the Weekly Business Hour, and you can listen to any of the shows that have taken place in the last year. So sit back, get ready to listen to some of the fine programming, including music here at Lone Star, and we'll see you next week, partner.
Hey everyone, this is Tina, your host from Retro Saturdays. I wanted to invite you to visit the Lone Star Studios here in downtown Conroe, Texas. We're all volunteers here, and we need your help in serving the Montgomery County area. Radio media is a fun field to be in. Lone Star Internet Radio serves Montgomery County with news, current events, local programming, and of course, music. If you are interested in volunteering and sharing your talents in media, go to irlonestar.com and let us hear from you. Lone Star Internet Radio, serving Montgomery County from the heart of downtown Conroe.